Seara, Orion, Perna. This is a defense that's just kind of stood the test of time, been around for as long as I can remember, and with the buffs to Orion and Perna, sort of made a comeback and has seen a whole lot of play this season, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we continue to see it during the tournament, because Orion's RNG is just silly, and so it made me question, is there anything that's truly 100% safe against this defense? This weekend I've been in testing mode, and I figure it would be a good video to have posted before the tournament in case people do see it. Might help them out. So let's get into it. Alright, so first off I'm going to show the two outspeed and cleave type teams. That is Carcano, Konamiya, and Lushen. Really it should be Dova. I don't own Dova. Tiana would even be better than Konamiya. The point is you need to outspeed, and Konamiya has a 91 base speed compared to Orion's 106. So a 15 base speed difference is very significant. So even if you have a like plus 215 set on your Konamiya, which is solid, a plus 200 Orion, you know, it's probably gonna outspeed. So have good communication with your guildies. If you know that they are unviolent, then you're good. If you don't know, then you can risk it. But if you get outsped, you're gonna lose. The other one is Galleon, Tiana, Poseidon, but again, you need outspeed and your base speed is lower. So I wouldn't use this first. I would use one of the shield will type teams where you don't need to outspeed first. Find out, okay, yeah, this one is definitely on Swift, or yeah, this one is definitely on Violent. And once you have that information, just make a note of it, and hopefully the enemy guild don't realize this and decide to move runes around on you, because that would be super uncool, but it's not a bad strategy for them to do that. Alright, so next I'll show you the suicide teams. I have a Iunu, Sian, Perna that I like to use. There's many variations of this you could do, and you could even mix and match them a bit. Nana, of course, is a more premium one. The thing about Iunu and Sian is they're more free to play, which is really nice. The best thing that can happen is if Perna kills your Iunu and you come back and you land the Oblivion and Sian lands all its bombs, and then you only have to kill Perna once. Your Sian needs sufficient damage to like actually kill things or get them really close to dead. If you're building this defense, you might want to have, you know, a decent amount of HP rather than just strictly offense. Like I wouldn't run a fatal Seara, that'd be silly. Like you want violent 100 crit rate Perna, you want speed crit damage, HP, speed crit damage, attack with just good substats. I would aim for 100 crit rate on Perna too if you can. And as far as violent or Swift Orion, you could go either way. I would have a mix and match in your guilds to throw people off. Anyways, a lot needs to go wrong for it to lose, which is why I like this one. Basically, if Seara happens to kill Iunu without proccing his passive, which happens if he dies to the bomb instead of dying to like a skill, then he'll come back and not do his like skill 2 revenge hit, which really sucks. Like that's unfortunate if that happens. You can still win if it happens, but it's tough. Additionally, you can lose if like Sian only lands one bomb and it happens to land on like Orion or something. Really, I don't even think it matters who it lands on. If you only land one bomb, you're probably gonna lose. Good news is he's really easy to get to max accuracy with the 50% bonus to the skill 2, so you only need 35%, which means more room for stats like attack and some speed. Nana is more premium. Of course, Nana makes it to where if one of them dies, you get even more attempts. So I really like this Nana, Helena, and Rica team. You got the slow debuff, lots of dots, you got some crowd control, which is really nice. 2 AoE defense breakers, lots of damage. Seara should be going for the Nana for the most part, because even if like the fire units get defense broken, Nana or Seara should prioritize the water unit unless they fall below 50% HP. Even if you lose someone turn 1, they get to come back from Nana's passive, and then hopefully you can get a quick kill and get another Nana stack. So both of these are really, really solid. Highly recommend. And you can, again, mix and match different variations. If you don't have Rica or Helena, I know Belinus is a good option. I would just look for some kind of AoE, fire, damage, and crowd control. So Carnal, I guess, would be a good one. Maybe Ken could have some potential there, but that's that. All right, so this next archetype of offenses is to outspeed and put up more buffs to protect you from Orion. So Garo Draco is a really solid one. It gives you a higher speed lead to their 24 lead, and you have matching base speeds to the Orion. So you can even have a lesser Swift set than their Orion and still manage to outspeed to some extent. It is a relatively quick match. You kill the Seara as quickly as you can. Ideally, you'd have Theo Mars faster than Garo to set up the defense break for Garo and guarantee the kill on Seara, though I never found that to be an issue, and I have bad runes on these things. I mean, you could argue my Draco's runes are good because it's a decent speed, but for the most part, these guys aren't runed very well. I was just getting lazy towards the end of my testing, but I had a whole lot of success with it. Well, I'll show you all the stats at the end, all my win rates for each offense. I tested each one at least 10 times. Some did better than others. I had 3 that went 100%, went 10-0, and I had a whole bunch that were over 90%, but a lot of them were in that 80 to 90% range, which I don't particularly like. This other one I really like too, Carcano, Wusa, and Wendy. What's really nice about Wendy is he's providing buffs throughout, so you have even more buffs than just what Wusa is providing. He's also tanking the Perna's damage, which is great. Carcano is, of course, setting up your defense break and damage to kill the Seara. I did find times where my Carcano would get killed, so Orion would defense break Carcano, Perna would kill him, and I would be in this 2v2 scenario with Wusa and Wendy versus Orion and Perna, and I won them the majority of the time that they happened. So I think you need to have decent damage on your Wendy, because if you don't, you're going to have trouble. You're also going to want decent damage on your Wusa, so that's a little troublesome because some people, whenever they're moving their Swift set onto whatever unit because they really want first turn, it might not be, slot 4, slot 6 HP. It might be slot 4 defense, slot 6 flat HP or something ridiculous like that. So if your Wusa doesn't have a lot of damage, you're probably going to lose that 2v2. If you do get in that 2v2 scenario, switch your targeting priority to Orion. Kill the Orion as quickly as you possibly can, and then it'll be 2v1 against the Perna, which is a comfortable win. But as long as Orion is alive with the Perna, he's giving them more turns, he's setting up defense breaks, and he's potentially stunning your Wusa, so you don't get your buffs and your healing and that kind of thing. So it's not an easy 2v2. You got to kind of play it carefully. Like if you have heal block on your Wendy and your Wendy's getting low on damage, you might want to save Wusa skill 2 to make sure that the heal block is gone before you use it to get Wendy some more health, that kind of stuff. Last one is Garo, Chloe, and +1. So Garo, Chloe, again, you're putting up more buffs. The other 2 units can be slower, so if Orion moves before your Garo and that kind of thing, that's all fine. That's supposed to happen. The goal is that hopefully he doesn't strip your immunity because you have invincibility, immunity, and a shield set. So someone needs to have a shield set on your team. And then the AoE fire, the best one I could find was Ken. I tried out different options. Ursha, I know, was one, which didn't do very well. Cocky, which was another one. I was kind of trying to look for a free-to-play option, but anyways, Ken did the best for me as the free-to-play option. Ken, has his own built-in violent. He has quite a bit of damage. He has some crowd control in the form of attack bar absorption, so he's pretty solid. I would kill Seara first, then go for the Perna. If you can kill both of them, you're for sure gonna win, but I did have some losses there because if Ken dies, you're kind of screwed. I think there are better options, maybe like a Belinus. Again, Belinus I'm sure is really good here. I don't own a Belinus, so I can attest, but he's got AoE defense break and provokes and decent damage, so I think he would have been really good in this particular case. And I burped. And I burped again. Alright, so these next 2 are just Shield Will that aren't cleaves. They aren't fast or anything like that. They're just a Shield Will team where a lot needs to go wrong for you to lose. In this case, I have Feng, Velajul, and Talc. Velajul's offering additional immunity and cleanse throughout the match. Talc is offering a defense buff, so Perna isn't doing as much damage. He's tanking the Seara. Feng is tanking the Perna. Really, the main thing is try to have decent accuracy in your Feng, which I don't have. That way you can land your defense break and have crit damage on your Velajul. You want to be speed, crit damage, HP. Aim for at least 85 crit rates so you can guarantee the crit on Seara. So if you land the defense break on Seara, Velajul skill 2, a lot of the time should be able to one-shot. For artifacts, you could look for damage dealt on Wind too to kind of guarantee it. So the way this loses is basically if Feng gets defense broken or Velajul gets defense broken turn 1 and Perna just goes ham on them and kills them. If you're in a 2v3 situation early on in the match, you're probably going to lose. Otherwise, if Orion doesn't go too crazy turn 1, like if he defense breaks Talc, you can do that all day. If he stuns Feng, doesn't matter because Velajul's going to cleanse anyways. It's if he like stun, I don't know. Just a lot needs to go wrong. If you get defense broken, that's where it gets scary. Defense broken and additional procs from Perna, because just a single defense break usually isn't enough. If you're built well and tanky enough, you can probably take a few hits from the Perna. The next one is Bolverk, Amelia, and Windy, which has even more buffs. Windy, again, providing a shield. Skill 2 provides the crit rate and speed buff. Amelia is immunity every turn, a cleanse when you need it. I would save the cleanse, don't just rush to use it to give Bolverk stacks. Kill Seara first again, then kill Orion and save Perna for last. Again, have decent damage on your Windy. Have just be tanky with your Bolverk and Amelia. 100 resistance is really nice if you can pull that off. Usually, I know Bolverk people like to ruin accuracy to steal buffs, but in this particular defense, there's no buffs to steal, so it's better to go high resistance to hopefully resist a Seara bomb in case Orion does strip your immunity and Seara targets, you know, someone without immunity, which is kind of neat. You have 2 water units, and almost always one is going to have immunity and one doesn't. But just because one has immunity and one doesn't necessarily mean Seara is going to target the one without immunity. So I've had plenty of matches where she could bomb Bolverk or she could bomb Amelia, but decides to bomb the one with immunity, and I was like, well, that was convenient. Of course, if this is the tournament, that will never happen. You will have just the worst RNG experience of your life every time. That is how this game is, so just realize that these are tests, and tests always have better RNG. Changed my mind. Alright, so this last one is Triana, Galleon, and Alicia. So the point of Alicia here is the fact that she's water, which is really nice. So again, I used to use the Dark Samurai in this case, or you know, any other AoE damage to her, but the fact that she's water means Perna's not going to be hitting her, so that's really great. You still have Galleon and Triana concepts where Triana is backup in case Orion does defense break or stun the Galleon, or you know, anyone. If anyone gets stunned, that's not good, so you want Triana there to cleanse. Triana gets stunned, that's fine, you don't care. Another great thing about the Alicia is her skill 2, the buff to the Polar Queens. It's a guaranteed crit, which is really nice to clean up the Seara. Additionally, she has built-in violent procs and freeze, so she's got some CC. Really good damage, guaranteed crit. The list goes on as to why you use Alicia over like any other AoE damage doer in this slot. I think you could use really any kind of Galleon Triana AoE damage and see some success, but I think your highest win rate is going to be Alicia. You lose basically if you land no defense breaks. Even if you land one defense break, you can win. Just depends on who the defense break is on, I think. Because if it's on like Perna, that's probably not good. You want it on Seara, I think. That way you can at least guarantee the kill there. Hopefully you land all your defense breaks. You won't, but hopefully you do, and get a real nice easy win. And that's the last one. So let me show you my Excel sheet here. Alright, so here's the Google document that I was keeping while doing all these tests. You can see the win rates of the different teams and the win rates of the archetypes. So the highest win rate for me was the outspeed and cleave, and part of that is because Lushen literally can't lose. That's the only one that I think can't lose, assuming again that you outspeed and have sufficient damage. Other than that, that's like the 0 RNG team, so if you have that available, then use it. If you have Dova, that's great. Otherwise, you better know that it is a Violence Orion. Otherwise, you're risking getting outsped. Galleon, Tiana, Poseidon, on the other hand, you have the RNG and the accuracy and resistance checks. You can limit RNG with 100 crit rate on Poseidon and 85 accuracy on your Galleon and Poseidon. But even then, there's always that 15% resistance chance. So you can lose, which I did in one of my tests. So next best was the Triana, Galleon, Alicia. It went 12-1 for me, and I'm sure I could keep trying them over and over and over and, you know, get more accurate win rates, but 92% in 13 trials. Again, shield will, high damage Alicia, aim for that 205 speed breakpoint. You could do higher on the Triana. You do want Triana moving first to cleanse if needed. You don't want Galleon lead in case it is a Violence Orion. If you outspeed, you lose, so don't outspeed. Or I should say, if you outspeed and they're on will, you for sure lose. If you outspeed and they aren't on will, you have a chance, but they could always I mean, Siara will violent proc out of the defense break. Orion very likely will, and Perna very likely will. So it's, you don't want to outspeed. So aim for around 205 speed breakpoint, I think is a good spot. You could be faster with Triana, that's fine. Next best was the Shield Will tanky teams, the Bolverk, Amelia, Wendy never lost for me. I think that is a very safe team. The Feng, Velajul, Talc, pretty solid 17-3, but I know 85% isn't really what people are looking for. And you know, again, any of these could be my rune quality compared to the defense I was hitting. The Perna I think was okay. It was Violent Nemesis, and the Nemesis was tricky because I was giving turns to Perna, but it wasn't max crit rate, which I think if you're building this defense, have that Perna max crit rate, because like the Garo Chloe X, I know there was some trials there where like I probably would have lost, but his Perna was missing crits. So that's that. And my camera just randomly went over here. Strange. Okay. Now I'm over here. After that, the next best was the Suicide team. I had a 14-2 and a 9-1, so an average of 88% between the two. You want to kill Seara ASAP if you're using Sian. Just better land your bombs. If you don't, rip. Nana, Helena, Rica, it's a more premium team, but it's really solid. And then the worst one happened to be the Garo Draco, Garo Chloe ones. Really, it's the Garo Chloe that's bringing it down, and part of that is because I was looking for a free-to-play option. So I think Garo Chloe, like Belinus, could be a good option. I also have a horribly ruined Garo. If your Garo was, you know, 100 crit rate, decent speed, that kind of thing, you'd probably see more success than I did. Garo Draco Theo Mars never lost in my testing, even with crappy runes. And Carcano Wuso Windy did really well for me. I say really well. 10-2 isn't great, but the fact that I could be in a 2v2 scenario and still win the majority of the time, I really like that. Anyways, that's all of them. Give them a shot. Let me know what you use. I'd love to hear if you think you have anything that's like 100% safe other than Lushen. And that's that. You have a good one, and good luck in the tournament.